Welcome everyone to the LuchaWorld Podcast episode number 71. I'm your host Fredo Esparza, and this week's show is a little different than usual. It's actually two parts. Kurt and I did the first 50 minutes together on Tuesday, and at that time, we recapped everything that had happened with the guys who left AAA and some additional news, some heated discussion on Los Ingobernables. As many of you know, Kurt is a La Máscara fan now, and I'm not, and we both dislike Pure Oath, but we both like Rush. So it was an interesting little. It actually came from something that Dylan Harris and I were talking about on our pre-show discussions before we record Lucha Talk. So this week's episode is basically that, and then there's a second half where I'll just update everybody on what's been going on since Wednesday. Wednesday and Thursday have been a very, very newsworthy days for Lucha Libre, with a lot of news coming up, and so that'll be the second half. I should give everyone a reminder, because I always forget. You could listen to the Lucha Talk podcast every week on the MLW Radio Network. Also this week, I was a guest on the Winter Palace podcast with Mark Cole. Be sure and listen to that. We do talk about a lot of different things on both shows. There's some stuff where obviously the AAA guy is leaving. It's going to be on all three shows. So, but there's still a lot of different stuff. Dylan and I talked about the Super Astro show, and Dylan actually is interested in the Blue Demon TV series. So that's on the Lucha Talk podcast, and on the Winter Palace podcast, a lot of CMLL talk, and what are they thinking? Why do they do certain things? The weird thing is I think Mark and I were kind of hoping the Lucha Memes matches would have been available by that point, so we could have talked about that on that show, but no, they weren't. They actually were made available early Thursday, so I'll talk about that after the first half of the show. Just another reminder, if you wanna, I recommend everybody checking out the podcast on the LuchaWorld.podbean.com website. There's also an app you could download for your phone or your tablet. We'll be adding you could also find the Lucha Classica podcast there. That's the first show we're putting up. There's probably going to be some special podcasts that we put up, and the Slam and Stand, the old Slam and Stand episodes are being uploaded there. I think I wanted to do that a little bit quicker, but as many of you know, since November, I've basically been handling everything on the site nowadays. So, and not to mention my other website and my job and all this other stuff. So there's a little bit more to it than just this one website. The poster searching is insane. I don't know how Chris did that while he was doing all these podcasts. So I can understand. I can see why he gave up on that. So it took him a while to figure it out. But I understand. It's something that's a little more difficult. It's a little more time consuming than people really give it credit for being. For the podcast, we'll probably have a subscription service. Right now, I don't really know more about it. I'll post the details as they come about. It's not going to be anything too expensive. There's going to be three different options for sure, because since they offer three different plans: monthly, seasonal, and annual. So I think I'm gonna go with all three. Just come up with three different plans and make it more affordable as you add more or whatever. I'm not really. At this point, I'm just thinking about what it's going to look like. I'm just trying to figure out how much we can possibly do, because, as I said, there's a lot of work going on, behind the scenes at the website. So with that, be sure to hope everybody enjoys this week's episode. And sorry for the multiple introductions to this week's show. And thanks for listening again.
Episode number 71, LuchaWorld Podcast. Fredo and the Freak, Alfredo Esparza and Vandal Drummond, or Kurt Venereal Brown if you like. This is going to be a very, very special edition of LuchaWorld, because I, who usually have the reputation of watching very little Lucha Libre in between episodes,
watched even less.
I watched even less. I watched none. There's a method behind this. You probably know, my broadcasting hero is Larry King. Now, I want to be like Larry King, so I've been doing it half-assed, so I said, why am I watching a little bit of Lucha? To be Larry King, I have to know nothing about my subject and ask idiotic questions all through the interview.
I was hoping you would watch AAA for this week.
I'm not that much of a masochist. I'm strictly a physical masochist, not a.
You're not gonna restart watching Lucha Underground until like the second half of the season starts in like.
Absolutely. If I watch AAA, then I'd have to sue them for like emotional dilapidation. That's what I would have to do.
Lucha Underground, it'd probably be better for you to like start later again, because you're gonna be like you're gonna forget about it by the time it starts again. So it's like you're gonna be like, what's going on? Where is Pentagon?
Yeah, what happened to Pentagon?
Where's King Cuerno?
Yeah, he left and left a path of broken arms. Yes. And all they have is a flying Brian Cage to.
Well, we have a lot of news this week.
There is a lot of news, and like I said, I have been totally off the map. So
I think this is going to end up being like the third or fourth podcast where I have to talk about this thing again, which is fine. But there's always updates on what's going on with AAA.
Well, I have to say, I have not read any stories, but I have read headlines, and so I'm actually excited for this. I'm excited about this episode because you are going to fill me and the rest of the Lucha World audience on all the happenings in the past few weeks, and there have been a lot of them.
Yeah, this was like I guess 2 weeks ago there was the Guerra de Titanes happened for AAA. Their first big show, their first show of the year for 2017. Everybody's happy. Nice show. Garza Jr. lost to Hijo Fantasma. Pentagon Jr. lost to Johnny Mundo, which that match was a semi-main event. They moved it up to the main event. Daga came out and challenged Johnny Mundo for a title match. Everything, ended all nicely that Friday night. Nobody was really expecting anything. Saturday night, The Crash held a show in Tijuana, and what happens? Big surprise, 2 masked men show up.
Wait, masked guys at a wrestling match?
Well, yeah, 2 masked men from the crowd. Yeah, I know that sounded so awesome. 2 masked men from the crowd ran in. One wearing a Konnan mask, the other one wearing a Fishman mask, which of course immediately makes you wonder, well, it could have been Hijo de Konnan and Hijo de Fishman, and we would have been completely disappointed, and that was it.
or as we have seen at some wrestling shows, it could have been 2 crazy fans wearing masks. Yeah,
well, these guys came in and they basically attacked Ray Horace. I think it was Ray Horace, and the Bestia 666 ended up getting the win. It was a tag match. These 2 guys came back in. Turns out, then everybody came out. A bunch of people came into the ring. Turns out that underneath the Fishman and Konnan mask were Daga and Garza Jr. And from that point forward, Phoenix came out. Everybody's in there. Juventud Guerrera and Super Crazy were making fun of Phoenix El Rey because everybody had a tag team partner. The Hardy Boys were in there. They had the guys who were with other teams, Hoovy and Super Crazy as the Mexicools, the Perros, the former Perros del Mal, Garza, and Daga more than anything. Garza was wearing a T-shirt, so obviously he was there. They were implying he was a Perro del Mal. And while this is all going on, what happens through the aisle? There's a motorcycle driving into the arena, and right on the passenger side, standing up, is a guy wearing a motorcycle helmet. The guy with the motorcycle helmet, nicely dressed in a suit, walks into the ring, removes the helmet, and it ends up being Pentagon Jr. So they had and this is something that Konnan, this is the old school, like the old surprise arrival of guys. Well, Pentagon Jr. ends up cutting a promo talking about how He was there to team up with Phoenix, his brother, and they were going to be called Los Lucha Brothers. They actually have a lot of they already have some bookings coming up where they're going to be a tag team. And he also announced that he, Garza Jr., and Daga were gone from AAA and had joined the Crash, and that he was no longer going to be Pentagon Jr., but Penta El Cero Miedo, which, you know, it depends. Some people don't like the name, others do. I kind of started off not liking it. I'm kind of more in the middle now, where it's like it doesn't. When he says it, it doesn't sound as bad as you know, somebody else saying it. you know.
Yeah, you can have your average Joe saying it or say what a stupid sounding name, but sometimes if somebody puts the right emphasis on it or their charisma can pull it off.
Yeah,
that could be different.
Yeah, so they had a match. They ended up being part of what was originally like a trios match, which was the Hardys and Phoenix, I think, versus the Mexicools. Mm-hmm. They switched that over and they had it turn into like a 5-team, 5-way match where the winning team would be crowned the Crash Tag Team Champions.
Yes.
Penta and Phoenix ended up winning. Mm-hmm. But what ended up happening was Juventud Guerra got upset that they won because they weren't supposed to be on the show. So they ended up switching it over to Konnan came out and basically said, well, they're the since they won, they're now the number one contenders. How about we have another match for the titles, and it's the Hardys versus Juvi and Super Crazy. So then this becomes a tag match for the titles, and who's standing there filming it? Jeremy Borash for Impact for TNA. Mm-hmm. So it's the Hardys end up winning. So that's kind of like they're gonna use that.
That'll get their rep.
Yeah, because they couldn't use Penta and Phoenix because they're still kind of technically still part of Lucha Underground. So yeah, that ended up happening. Huge news where it's like everybody's talking about what happened. Why did these guys leave? They did interviews afterwards talking about how they basically felt that they were never given the same opportunities. They felt disrespected by AAA. The guy who really, they were asked about the Perils del Mal name. Initially, they were like, we don't know what's going to happen, because they didn't tell the guy who owns the name or who has the right to use the name, Con del Mal, who's a friend of Paraguayo Jr. and the family.
I didn't realize he owned.
He doesn't own, he
But he owns he has the trademark.
He has the right through the family, because the family has.
Oh.
Konnan explained it later that the family has no interest in continuing. They don't want anything to do with Lucha Libre. Mm-hmm. So it's basically they gave the right to use the name to Con del Mal, Konnan, and Rey Mysterio, but Con del Mal is really the one that's using it more than the other two. The other two didn't really want it. You know, they were like it's the families. Let's you know, they're in grief. They're probably gonna want to.
I think even if I was in wrestling, if I lost a son because it sounds like Aguayo wasn't all that gung ho about his son being a wrestler.
Aguayo, Perro Senior's not all there right now because he's older and he's kind of like he's already getting to that point, you know, because of all the
the rumors. I don't know if this is true.
Konnan said it is. It's
that he has Alzheimer's.
I don't know, but he says he's sick.
Some sort of dementia or something. That's sad.
Yeah. They weren't sure about the name at this time. After that show, like for a few days, they were then booked for a show the following week at Arena San Juan, which was this past Friday. Was it the 27th?
That's right.
Yeah, 27th. Yeah, they were booked for a show there, which was funny because that promotion, the promoter that ran that show, initially had AAA talent on that show. AAA. Mm-hmm. Then it switched. AAA decided not to work a deal with this guy, the promoter there. So they went from AAA to ex-AAA. So it was like the main event was going to be Vipers versus Vatos Locos. Mm-hmm. So then this promoter decided, hey, I'm going to use these guys. So instead of the ex-AAA, he used the more recent ex-AAA guys. So he basically booked AAA versus Vipers versus Penta, Phoenix, Daga and Garza Jr. Mm-hmm. And at that show, they were gonna just announce whether or not they were gonna be Perros del Mal or something, or introduce their new name. Well, before that, I think by Wednesday they knew more or less they were gonna get the Perros del Mal name because Con del Mal said he he didn't know what was going on, and he had to decide what was going to happen. Well, while that was going on in Arena San Juan, AAA was having a show in another place. It was a busy Friday, and as usual with Lucha. So there, Joe Leader was the lone Peril del Mal. So you know,
my lord!
The decline of the Peril del Mal.
That's
See, even you who don't really.
Oh dear.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Con del
Even
Mal.
I who does not watch AAA know that that's
Joe
not
Leader,
a good
yes.
move. I mean.
Yes. So then everybody was like, Con del Mal chose Joe Leader and staying with AAA over.
It's like the NWO's coming back. Look, there's Virgil.
Yes, Virgil alone. He's the NWO. And the other guys are in the other promotions. So so over there they basically figured out that wasn't going to happen. So before that show, Garza Jr. is flying in from Monterrey to Mexico City, and on his flight is Zorro.
Oh Lord!
Who's still in AAA? So then everybody starts asking Zorro, "Hey, are you jumping?" Because Garza Jr. said more surprises, and so Zorro plays it off. He knows he's been through these rumors going back like since he first started in AAA. Because people always thought when he was hot in AAA, they kept saying, "Hey, you should go to CMLL because you'd be a little more over there or whatever." And he never did. He was always very loyal with AAA. So. Zorro plays it off like, yeah, maybe I will be there or whatever. Like,
he's smart.
Just staying quiet or putting the little emojis like, hey, little kisses and winky faces and whatever. And so the show happens. They debut their new gimmick as La Rebelión.
The Rebellion?
The Rebellion. They have shirts. They basically copied like Reservoir Dogs.
Gotcha.
The guys,
silhouettes.
the suits with their faces on it, and then and a lot of it really. If it's Rebellion, you think there's a lot of Star Wars shirts where it says "Join the Revolution." I think you've seen them.
I've seen those. Yes.
Designed by Humans and all that stuff. Cheap plug right there.
And if you go to Designed by Humans, one of the coolest T-shirt websites. Make certain you go through the side door. Go to LuchaWorld first and click on the Designed by Humans thumbnail.
The banner. It's a thumbnail too. So.
The banner, the thumbnail. The thing that when you go click,
yes.
it takes you there.
Yes. So then they basically have that. They're going to have their match there. But suddenly the main event changes again. Because the guys who were going to be on that, Los Vipers... they basically said that they weren't given. The promoter wouldn't pay their guarantee. So Konnan then on his podcast claimed that Paco Alonso had told the Vipers, which I doubt. I highly doubt Paco Alonso really cared about that at that point. Paco Alonso would have cared if Konnan was there. Yes. I think he would have cared of that. But if he wasn't there, it's like. I don't think he was going to be worried about the Vipers. First of all, I don't think he even knows. I think other than Ripper, he probably doesn't remember any of those guys being in his promotion. So it was really Ripper, Hysteria, and Maniaco. Maniaco's not even in CMLL, so it's like so it wouldn't have mattered. Hysteria's there off and on in CMLL. It's not even like a consistent booking for him.
Yeah, and I've never met Paco Alonso, but. I don't picture him getting all riled up over
the Vipers.
I mean, how long has he and AAA been opposing promotions? 24 years almost.
Yeah.
I don't picture him getting upset about the Vipers.
Yes.
Now if they bought one of his arenas from under his feet.
Yeah.
That might be.
I mean, if they were used for the Crash, yes.
Yeah.
Because he knows Konnan's affiliated with that. So then. But the real story behind that is that his co-host on his podcast heard the same story that a lot of other people heard. I kind of figured it was because what happened. You know what happens with wrestlers, and Konnan says it never happened before this, but this happened because it happened to one of our friends. It happens to a lot of people. They kind of get as the show gets closer. What do? They up the price.
Yes,
and it happened with a guy that. I mean, he's a pretty good guy and everything, but it happened with him. So it's like, and that's what I think happened, and that's what other people have said that what happened was that they brought in these guys. These guys were bigger, hotter names, so they were like, hey, we should get paid more to work with them, and the promoter didn't see it that way, so it's like he backed out. And Konnan's one of these guys, like I have no problem with Konnan, I like him. He's one of those guys that if you're either with him or you're against him, and if you say something that isn't isn't agreed with on his side, he's going to disagree with you until you see him and you explain yourself, and then you'll understand. And it's
I agree. I totally agree.
So it's one of those things where it's like constantly.
Yeah, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. So I think it's easier if you just assume it's the money issue more than anything for those.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the whole holding up for money. I would bet since the beginning of professional wrestling, since the dawning of the sport when it was worked.
Dude,
I'm certain. I would guarantee
there are stories from guys in Mexico who would do that when they would be in a hotel calling. Remember, like Vampiro used to mention that. He mentioned that once, that he did that once, where he called the promoter to like get more money off the guy for a booking.
And wrestlers famously wanting more money to drop a belt.
Yes,
I mean,
it happens all the time. It's like it's not.
It's funny because I hear so many people, debate on, the motivation behind jumping or staying with a promotion. And
it's always the same thing. It's always money
it's
or
money.
Not opportunity, really.
Exactly. This isn't like this isn't a TV show where the good guys are going to the nice promotion where it's greener on the other side. It's always been an adrenaline rush of a career. You're bartering for more money. You're taking a gamble, trying to hold out for more money.
Yeah.
The promoter's wondering, do I call his bluff? Don't I?
It happens in everything.
Yeah.
The guy who mentioned something interesting was Garza Jr. He was talking about, after that show, they were talking about their presentation and everything, and Garza Jr. said that AAA tried to pay the promoter money to cancel the show. And Garza Jr. said, I saw the messages the guy got. he's like the promoter got. So it's like he apparently like they tried to pay him thousands of pesos to cancel the show. And Garza Jr. was talking about how and there's other promoters that have tried to book these guys that have actually had that issue also with AAA. So it's like I tend to believe Garza Jr. more than like Konnan or like somebody else. He's a little more reliable than so he was talking about that, and he's like instead of these guys wasting their time trying to cancel or stop us from working, why don't they use that money that they want to stop us from working? Why don't they use that to improve their pay their talent more? Get them food, get them on better travel. Their travel schedule. They travel 10, 12 hours on a bus. Get them a flight instead of that. It's easier that way.
Give them a reason to want to be with the promotion.
Yeah. So it's basically been all that for the last couple of weeks, where anybody that's in AAA gets asked about whether or not what they think about it. The company line on AAA's end is like they wish them well. And they laughed.
The old personal endeavor quote.
Yeah,
huh?
so they laughed because the first thing Garza Jr. and Phoenix said, and Pentagon said, they're like, it's funny. They said they wished us well. And it's like, yeah, they wish us so well that they try to block us from work elsewhere. It's like that's not wishing. They're just bullshitting everybody. It's like
it was lost in translation. They're wishing them into a well, hoping that they fall 30 feet.
Yeah. So while this is all going on. AAA has Guerra de Titanes, loses talent, has more indie shows, so they have to fill out who's going to replace these guys on these shows. And so, you could pretty much kind of get away with it because they have the main. These guys, as big a deal they are to hardcore lucha fans, they weren't the main attraction for the AAA shows, because the AAA shows are really right now built around Psycho Clown and Dr. Wagner Jr. Pagano.
That's what I've noticed when I go up and down.
Yeah, because there's like another match.
Yeah, I see very similar main events all the time.
Everywhere. And it's the indies and the AAA shows. That's basically the main feud. Pentagon would be thrown in as a tag team or instead of Pagano, they would have Pentagon. Well, now that's Hijo de Fantasma or Tejano taking that spot. So they still have some talent up on top. But the middle part is where it's like, oh, this is really bad. Because, there's a few shows. There's a few shows where they had Lady Shani and Mamba teaming up with Pimpinella and Big Mommy. So it's like, there's a big difference in between those matches. So,
now, I'm just curious. We've known for some time that a lot of the guys at AAA are very unhappy.
We did a show. I think we did a show back when I think there was some rumblings that somebody was upset and wanted to leave.
Yes.
And I think we mentioned that we had heard from a couple people from Lucha Underground, not the AAA guys, but the guys that are in the U.S.
Yes.
Who said that the AAA guys were miserable in AAA. And it's like, if they could get out of it, they would find a way to get out of it.
Yeah, so a lot of the guys and gals who work for AAA, obviously there is a lot of unhappiness, so to speak. What's the tone with the fan base? Does it still have are they drawing?
They're still drawing. It's AAA.
So it sounds like the fans are mainly coming to see the Lucha show rather than, like if Dr. Wagner left, there might be some hardcore disappointed fans, but people would say, hey, let's go see the AAA.
Yeah, that they drew well. They had a TV taping the show that I was telling you that the same day that Arena San Juan happened. They drew well. I mean that place was packed. So it's like, and Dorian Roldan, and that's the thing. Like Dorian Roldan was asked about it, and he's like, he was like, he was like very nonchalant about them leaving. Like, oh, big deal. They were. We'll survive. We've been around for a long time. Guys come and go. He wished them well also, but he was also trashing them. And then they kind of asked him. They asked him, what do you what's the talent that left AAA? What's the situation with them in Lucha Underground? And he's like, well, stay tuned. It's on standby. We'll know we'll know later or whatever. Like he didn't have a definitive answer what their situation. Although, I mean, we've seen Sexy Star left AAA before the season 3 started taping, and she was pushed like
to the stars.
Yes, I think we've complained more about her since she left AAA than
I honestly probably
Jack Evans Jack Evans left after.
Yeah, I probably said this before, but I mean, I bet if you looked in Mexico, you could find somebody as cute as Sexy Star who could work a little bit better. I mean, if you really wanted to,
sure.
That's just me though.
But it's like that's the person they brought, that's the person they fell in love with, and that's the person they're sticking with. But it's like, I think now that I think about it, I think the test is going to be what happens with because Jack Evans worked a lot of the house. Remember those shows that they had were those free shows that they had over like in October or something?
Yes.
So it's like, it's interesting what's going to happen because everybody's like, oh, it's going to be fine. But it's like Dorian Roldan just moved up as the guy in charge of like talent relations for Lucha Underground, and that's gonna be like, he doesn't have a good relationship with half his roster. And it's weird because it's like he's like, everybody's like, oh, he's gonna do well like in the role that he's in with, and I'm like, I don't think he is. I go, I think he's somebody who kind of like, I think he's more of a guy who like wants, like is in charge, but then he wants other people to like handle the situations. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
like a boss that just wants other people to handle it.
He has the last call. He wants the prestige of
being the last call. But I don't think he really wants to be the guy handling the day-to-day of business. And I think that's really going to be the.
Oh, that was Mike LaBelle. From what I understand, is he barely even paid attention to what they were pushing. All he was doing was counting his money in the box office. Yeah. Like literally, like while the matches were going on, he was guarding his money. Yeah,
it was funny because the way he was talking about it, then how it was like, hey, it's not a big deal that they're leaving. The whole it just seemed the timing of all this happening was so weird because WWE did their survey about they did a survey in Mexico for the network and all this stuff, and whether or not people would be interested in a new Lucha Libre promotion being started, obviously by them, which I think was it wouldn't. I don't know how that would turn out. I think typical WWE fans tend to get really excited about everything WWE does, and then when it happens, it ends up being like a total bomb.
Yeah, I've learned a long time ago, never get excited.
205 Live. You don't hear the same stuff that people were saying about, oh, this is gonna be a great show. It's like, oh, it's kind of like shitty, I like how Rob, our friend Rob Bihari, started another.
You mean Viper?
Rob Viper. He started a new Twitter account where he just posts the GIFs up on it, and he has all these Lucha ones, and he's posting Sombra and all this stuff. And Sombra does this really cool dive to the outside, and I'm like, well, I can't wait to see this in WWE. And it's like, we're never going to see that in WWE. It's a dive that he does where he jumps onto the where he does the moonsault to the outside over the corner. I don't think we're ever going to see. I don't think
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't. Some of the stuff. I don't think Mascara Dorada is going to do a lot of the stuff he used to do in WWE.
It's no secret that in almost every other wrestling federation, so many of the wrestlers' goals are to go to WWE. And the one question I have, do they realize that even once they get signed, what an uphill climb it's going to be?
Yeah, look at Mascara Dorada. Where has he been?
Mm-hmm.
He signed in September. Like, he was getting more opportunities in WWE when he wasn't in WWE.
Yeah, exactly. And
since he joined WWE, we haven't even really, like, he's doing NXT house shows.
And
like,
if somebody was able to open the video vault and say, okay, this is how WWF has handled luchadores in the past 20 years. Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero.
Those guys were exception. They were the.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
the exceptions. I mean, look at all the other ways.
Yeah. And it's like a Sombra. What's Sombra doing? Everybody complains about how Sombra's lost it in NXT. And I bet you anything. People are down on him right now. He goes back to the CMLL. As soon as he shows up, he's back to being Sombra again. Mm-hmm. I would bet you anything.
That'd be awesome.
Because it's not necessarily the wrestler. Because everybody's like, I don't know if it's the wrestler or the promotion. Like, no, it's WWE. Don't even act like it's them changing the way everything he does. It's like he's not going to do the same stuff that he did in CMLL.
Yeah. You know what? Hey, I'd love it if he and Rush and La Mascara are all together. Three of the cockiest looking people in the business. And like I said, Mascara losing. Yeah. Well, geez, now you killed the buzz. Oh man.
Well, you killed my buzz with La Mascara. So.
Hey! Ever since he dropped the mask, I like him.
Yeah.
He's not somebody I think that should be pushed.
You just admitted to not watching wrestling in the Lucha in the last couple of weeks.
But I've seen him since he lost his mask.
But you did not watch the last couple of trios matches.
I do love the irony that he is still called La Mascara.
I will tell you. You watch one of the most recent match. You watch a recent match with Pierrot, Rush, and La Mascara, and then you will understand why my co-host on Lucha Talk, Dylan Harris, and I had a debate on whether or not we would be okay with Rush leaving if he took La Mascara.
I got to be honest, as much as I love Sombra, and let's just pretend La Mascara was a better wrestler. You're going to have a hard time filling Rush's shoes.
I'm saying, if you got rid of, would you be okay if La Mascara and Pierrot were offered a chance to leave, but they also had to take Rush with them? Would you be okay with that? Would it be worth it? With that one match every time that they're on CMLL TV, if you lost the Ingobernables match.
Oh, if you took Rush out of the equation?
No, I'm saying if you're going to get rid of, like say Rush gets an offer to go to, like, the Crash or something like that.
Right.
And he says, I'm taking La Mascara and Pierrot. Or Rush says, I'll stay in CMLL, but you have to keep La Mascara and Pierrot with me. Wouldn't it be better to get rid of all three? I would rather get rid of all three.
Interesting question.
I think that match is
dreadful. It's okay. Here's
the Ingobernables matches are dreadful. I don't care what anybody says. Those matches are
Well, now here's where it gets tricky because what I was saying a few minutes ago, if Sombra came back, and it was Rush, but the add Pierrot into the La Mascara mix, no, that's different. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying
even when Sombra, La Mascara, and Rush was those Ingobernables matches were horrible.
Yeah,
for the most part, really, it wasn't a match that.
And it's not. I'm not saying that La Mascara is this great, fabulous worker, but he does just have the most smart-ass face. I know he wouldn't stand as a singles wrestler. You might get your wish.
I hope so.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I just think.
No. I don't think.
The ring, that guy is really bad. Like I don't. There is nothing you could tell me that would change.
Oh, I'm not trying to convince you. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just saying what I see.
But isn't that like something like if you would have to like really debate like if Rush was like all upset and with CML and said, I'm leaving. You either keep me with my family with Pierrot and La Mascara, or we're leaving. And I would be like, you know what? I wouldn't mind because I could take that spot and give it to Sansón Cuatrero and
you know what?
who are way better as a trio than Los Ingobernables.
One thing so many promoters should do is the Jerry Jarrett ideology. Somebody becomes, a brat, somebody's holding you up for money, somebody's making demands, show them the door. You might kill the house for a while, and
I don't think them leaving would kill the house, because
it wouldn't. But if you're a promoter, the more you let guys make...
CML has bad attendance with or without them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's my thing. If Rush made that kind of demand and I was the promoter, I'd say, well,
he's not. I'm not saying he is.
I know he's not. Yeah, no, this is purely.
This was just a discussion we were having off air on our show, because we were talking about you liking La Mascara, and we were like, would you get rid of, like, if AAA offered La Mascara a deal and he said, I want to bring Los Ingobernables with me, would it be worth it to lose Pierrot? Yes. But then Rush, and then you'd have to think about it, right? Mm-hmm. You would think about it, but then you would think, you know what? If we get rid of Pierrot, I'm all in.
That's a very good point.
I think that's the one where you're like,
oh yeah, and again, like, I enjoy Mascara, but say if tomorrow he did leave, I would say, oh well.
Yeah, because there's somebody else is going to fill in, and it's probably somebody's going to be a lot better.
Because I have to be
or worse.
I have to be fully transparent here, as I've come so full circle. I love great workers, however. And I think a lot of the really old school wrestling fans look through the past with rose-colored glasses.
Yeah.
Because, they were...
Well, La Mascara's really popular. I'm not even saying, like...
Exactly.
I think that would be difficult, too, because he's popular, and, that family is part of CMLL right now, although it's part of AAA, too, so...
Yeah. And the thing is, when I was a kid, there were wrestlers I liked watching, and... I didn't understand until I got a little older, they have two left feet.
Yes.
But there's some guys who have it, or...
And, there's a lot of fans that are like that like wrestling, and they don't really think about, this guy's really bad in the ring.
And I think a lot of the really hardcore fans, and it's fine that they do this, they focus so much on, in-ring technique, all that kind of stuff, that sometimes they lose sight of what the casual fan's looking for. And And so, I'm not this huge fan of Mascara, but
Maximo's a perfect example.
As a guy absolutely.
Like smart fans absolutely don't get it a lot of times with him, especially the Mexican crowd right now. The ones that are online, the Facebook guys who complain about Maximo representing CML as a world champion, and it's like, he's popular and he's actually pretty good. He's not horrible in the ring.
Right, exactly.
I think the problem is that a lot of that stuff, like if somebody was watching CML, like one of their programming department guys was watching CML, they would realize, the Kiss, it's okay in a trios match, but in a title match, let's not do it,
Right.
Let's not do that, let's try to make it let's make you look little more serious.
Give it, kind of like what old school Mexico used to do.
Do the Kiss in the second fall.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe do a little spot with it or something like that.
But it's like, you can't do it all the time. It's like...
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what's been going on with AAA, and we went off track on that.
Of course, we did.
AAA, it was funny because they held a press conference and Dr. Wagner Jr. didn't make it to the press conference. So then they started, hey, is Dr. Wagner Jr. leaving? And he's like, no, the flight is delayed, and he actually made it. He said he did sign the contracts. They had Psycho Clown post a picture of him holding the contract signed and everything for the mask match. For Segura, the next day said that mask match wasn't going to happen. He's like, Dr. Wagner Jr. is going to leave before Triple Mania. And it's funny because everybody's like, oh, that's not true, and it's all this stuff. It's like, yeah, it's possible.
Anything is possible.
It's Dr. Wagner Jr., anything's possible. And then Dr. Wagner Jr. said that he was going to win Psycho Clown's mask, and then after that, he was going to go after LA Park and Atlantis, and all these guys go, you're not going to go after Atlantis. I think you've burned that bridge enough where it's
yes.
And that last time was the one where I think it's pretty much... I think he's pretty much broken.
And he's one of those, I don't really have any sympathy for a promoter who says, hey, let's give him another chance, because there's some wrestlers who just...
Yeah, he's a perfect example of everything that Konnan said didn't happen in the past. Like, he still did it.
Absolutely.
And he does it now. It's like, it's always been like that with him. So then they held the press round. They did set that. Of course, they talked about those guys. It's now, right now, everybody's kind of debating what's going to happen with AAA. Are they going to add talent? Are they going to lose talent? What's going to happen with Lucha Underground? Konnan on his podcast said Lucha Underground was going to sell the show to Netflix and all this stuff. And right away, Court Bauer from MLW said that wasn't true. That what they're trying to do is get a deal with Netflix. They're still keeping the show. It's going to be on El Rey. He's like, but it's going to be on Netflix. But it's so funny because now you have Konnan and Court Bauer kind of in separate camps.
Oh, they were best buddies.
And I think they still are, but there's this little bit of a separation because Court Bauer has some type of relationship with Dorian Roldan,
right?
Where it's amicable business wise. So it's like because I mean Court said that, but at the same time he did say there were also some issues that he noticed with AAA. It's like, but it was funny because they his co-host. See, the Cubs fan actually posted the link, and if not, I wouldn't have listened to the show. And he's like, the co-host is like, where did you get this information from? That Lucha Underground was gonna, and Court was like, oh, some article. And like, Court, come on, dude,
some article.
It's us translating what Konnan said. Just say it was from Konnan, dude. Fuck. It's like it's not some article. If it was some article, they didn't credit any of us or they didn't credit me because I was the one that was translating that stuff. But I just thought it was funny that you heard it on Konnan's show. It's like it was pretty obvious that it was him. Yeah, so everybody's trying to figure out who's gonna leave, but really who's gonna join, who's gonna leave AAA. They asked Hijo de Fantasma if he was gonna still stay because he was one of the guys that was remember earlier in 2016 who was very upset. He did an interview with the Mas Lucha on their podcast, and he was saying that he's like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I had issues with AAA and Lucha Underground in 2016. I had my injury. They backed me throughout my surgery. They took care of me. He's like really. They kind of made me feel like I was wanted. So he's like, I renegotiated my deal with Lucha Underground and AAA, so I'm still with them. I have no plans of leaving, and he kind of like took a shot at the guys like oh yeah, it's also not right for you guys to leave. He was taking a lot of shots to these guys like, oh, I don't think it was right what they did, and who were they before they joined AAA. And I write in parentheses, in little like parentheses. It's like, because if I write it without that, people are gonna say, oh, did he say that or something? Like, it's like, no, I said it. It's like, he's gonna regret this interview at some point.
Exactly.
Because he regretted the one when what he said about CMLL, even though it didn't hit him. It didn't it wasn't backlash. It was mostly backlash from fans who said, that was a shit thing to say and all this stuff. And he kind of later said, you're probably right. I was a little too hard on that stuff, on them and stuff. But this one, I kind of thought, you're saying all this stuff. What happened last year? Well, why was the reason he wanted to leave? It wasn't because he was injured at the time. He wanted to leave AAA and Lucha Underground. He wanted to go to the WWE Cruiserweight tournament, the Cruiserweight Classic. So it was like he was just like, it was one of those, what is that called? The changing history, revisionist history,
and PI, pissed inferior. Not that he's inferior as a worker, but when you make a bad decision because you're pissed off, without thinking it through.
Yeah, and I'm thinking maybe he's like, and he's getting his first. I think this might be his first indie U.S. with a major, not a major, but a more known indie promotion in the U.S. for AEW. So I think he's probably going to start noticing, like, oh, I think now I see why these guys left. But he also brought up, he made a good point. He's like, these guys leaving, it kind of elevates everybody else to move up the card. So it's like, it's not all bad. So it's like, yeah, he's going to get more exposure being, he's one of the better wrestlers in the promotion right now. So it's like, you lose these guys, he moves up. Who knows? Maybe he gets a little push just because he showed some loyalty. But it's like it's one of those things. And I think he also has that. I think he also realizes that he kind of what he said about CML. He pretty much closed the door on that end. I think he's probably one of those guys that they would actually like be a little harder on.
I think if I was a wrestler, I would
just not say anything.
And don't say anything. And especially if you want to keep your options open.
Daga was great. Daga was like, he did a bunch of areas. He's like, yeah, I thank AAA for this, and he's like, but they didn't do any of that stuff that Garza Jr. said they did to him. They didn't do that to me. He's like, they didn't do that to me. He's like, and I don't really want to talk about that. That's in my past. Let's talk about what's going forward. And Daga was like, I want to go to. He wants to work U.S. Indies. He wants to go to Japan. He's like, I'd really love to work for Noah, which people are like, oh, that would be cool if Daga was in Noah because they're changing. I think you heard that they sold the company again, right?
I had heard that. I heard something of the sort.
Yeah, so apparently they changed the style. And their first show was like a style that was a little more different to what they were doing in the past.
Oh wow, interesting.
With the New Japan guys that they had, they were doing a lot of like.
Isn't it amazing how much I know these days?
Yeah, you're totally out of the loop.
See, I'm getting my news on LuchaWorld.
Yeah. So so that's going on. That was AAA. I'm curious. What do you really think a guy would leave CMLL to go to? I mean, I could see but a guy who's pretty much established in CML, would you think they would leave to go to AAA right now?
I think
it'd have to be a mid-card guy or a lower card.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, if there is a great financial incentive, which I don't think there is, I wouldn't leave.
I think if you're going to be upset with CML and you were going to leave, you'd go to like an independent.
Well, because it sounds like...
Because they're not even getting the guys, they're not getting Delta to commit to them, and Delta was like...
I mean, I was going to say...
Delta was like a pretty high-card, mid-card guy in CML.
Yeah, because you're not going to get rich doing indies, but you can make a living, can't you? I mean, indies are...
Especially for the guys who are in Mexico right now.
Yeah.
They're getting way more... There's more shows over there, too, so...
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's like... Yeah, so that's... I just think it's going to be more one of those things where... AAA is going to have to find somebody who can scout talent, because right now they don't have anybody.
Yeah, I think the problem...
Not just scout talent, but like be kind of like Konnan.
Yes.
Who can like sell them on joining the promotion.
Yes.
And I don't think Dorian has that.
But he probably thinks he does.
Yeah,
ego is a tricky thing when you have power. Sometimes you don't see the forest for the trees. You don't... everybody else will see it, but except you, and they're not going to tell you, hey, maybe you should go about it this way because they don't want to get fired.
Yeah, so
you don't want to say no to the boss. You want to say what a great job he's doing.
I would think right now the guys that they're probably going to get are going to be guys who are in the outs with CMLL that are like maybe past their prime.
Yes.
Some of the older guys, and maybe some of the lesser known guys who are looking just to be on TV for some exposure. Like I was saying on the other podcast I did, it's like it wouldn't hurt. Like if you're like an unknown indie guy, you go to AAA, you become known within a couple of episodes. You suffer through it. You don't figure out what's going wrong until maybe a year or two, or in Daga's case, 6 years, or Penta, where it's 6 years later, you figure out, hey, they're not really doing nothing with me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so... the other news from CMLL, really the big news from CMLL is that Dos Leyendas is coming up in March 17th, and they're going to honor Villano III.
Oh, very cool.
As part of the whole Atlantis Villano III match from
Yes.
March 17th, 2000. Villano III did an appearance on Informa, and he was very cheerful. Like, he was very emotional.
Oh, wow.
Talked about what an honor it was for CML. And they were asking him, and it was kind of funny because he brought it up too. And, we think about this being something current. If you think about it, every promotion, every single, back in the day, promotions would be built from guys who felt like they were disrespected by a promotion. UWA basically became
Absolutely.
because guys felt that they weren't getting
That's
the same
how
opportunities.
UWA became such a powerhouse.
Yeah, so it's like, and Villano III was talking about that. He's like, Arena Mexico, it's been around. Wrestlers come and go, but Arena Mexico's still here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And he was very touched by the whole thing. He's like,
that is really neat.
To have left. He's like, to have left and for them to honor me. I'm very touched by that.
That's awesome.
So that Lucha Memes promotion that I'm guessing you probably know enough about.
Yeah, we talked. In fact, we talked about it on the last episode. I must admit,
they ran that show on.
I got to admit, my favorite part of Lucha Memes is just the title of their promotion.
And me talking about the promoter.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so the guy's starting to get a little more involved with CMLL. He's gonna I guess he's talked about possibly running a Lucha Meme show at an Arena Coliseo.
Right.
Kira won the CMLL Reina International Women's title, Junior Women's title. So now she's kind of got that's the second title that comes from a CML affiliated group that is going with them. There's more of that going on now, so he's kind of starting to get more involved with that stuff. So
excellent.
Yeah. Did you watch any of the FantasticaMania?
No, I didn't. Like I said, I've seen absolutely nothing. I don't think I've seen any wrestling whatsoever. There have been times where I've come on the podcast and I've watched a little, but I've been so...
I like how you were not prepared at all for this show.
Like I said, Larry King.
Yeah.
I'll never forget when he interviewed Jesse Ventura.
If you were on Lucha Talk, we'd have you just silent the entire episode.
Oh no, you know me. I'm talking would drive everybody crazy because I'd be talking. But no, I'll never forget seeing Larry King interviewing Jesse Ventura, and Larry King was totally confused. He's saying something like to Jesse Ventura, "Wait, you were the bad guy and you won." No. His thing was, "You're the bad guy and you won." And Ventura has a confused look. He goes, "Yeah." And Larry King very seriously says, "Oh, I thought they wanted good to win, so sometimes bad beats good." And Ventura goes, "Yeah," but he had this look in his face like, "Is this guy nuts?"
It's so weird because now we're so used to people like at least looking through a wiki page to know about when they interview people. It's like
exactly.
Like you didn't even bother like looking through like the Observer this week to like know more.
No, I'd rather just come and say I didn't see it, I don't know about it. If I see something, I like to talk about it.
Yeah, so FantasticaMania was good. There was a lot of good matches. As the train passes again, Dragon Lee versus Barbo Carbonario was good. Mystico and Volador Jr. versus Euphoria and Ultimo Guerrero was really good, a tag match. They did a really cool Mystico doing a dive where Volador Jr. was standing at the corner, and Mystico flies towards him and he tosses him over the corner, over the ring post onto Euphoria for a Hurricane Rana.
Sweet,
that was really good. Rush versus Atlantis was really good. Atlantis bled.
Really?
Yeah,
got
he bled.
In that match.
I think he must have he must have got hit hard.
It was the hard way.
Yeah, so it was really good. I haven't seen the last show, which was like everybody's like that was like the better show of them all. It's like I go, yeah, dude, but it's like 3 hours. Each show is 3 hours, and like I said, I'm listening to so many freaking podcasts on Lucha in Spanish, like Podcast Boom. There's the Mas Lucha podcast. I'm also doing Chris Zellner's portion of the Lucha Report, which is insane. Like
you've been busy.
People don't realize how long it takes to look for posters. I think only Cubs fan that listens to this show would probably be the one nodding in agreement. Like that is a pain in the ass searching for those.
It's funny if the whole kayfabe thing didn't exist 40 years ago, people would have a lot easier time reporting the news about wrestling because there wasn't that much to watch. You got whatever you could find on your TV, which wasn't much.
Yeah. So now there's so much. It's like you can't really talk about it. And people are like, man, why are they talking about this match? And it's like, oh man, well, to be fair, I did watch an IWRG match last week, which was fucking awesome. And I know it was called the five I forgot what five match. What is it? 5 Match Fighters. They've been doing this for a long time. Like I think the last 2 or 3 years.
Kind of like their own, almost like trademark style match.
They have 5 guys all going at it. It ended up being Demonio Infernal versus Freelance. Freelance is great. I think you've seen him already.
Yes, and his moniker is great too.
Yeah, Aramis and Araña de Plata and Black Dragon. The guy that really impressed me was Demonio Infernal in that match. I thought he looked really good. But it's just a crazy match. Your typical. This is like your old IWRG where they do crazy topes to the outside, guys to the outside.
With 5 guys, is this pretty much like a 3-way, but a 5-way, or is there?
Yeah, pretty much a 5-way where everybody's like, and then there's finally a winner. It's funny because the guy who won, like they kind of had this whole confusing finish to it where who won because Eterno ran in and like beat the shit out of one of the guys.
Right.
They started just fighting afterwards, but it was a fun match. I recommend that with people watching that. Yeah, well, I still feel the same way about the Ingobernables match. I would be perfectly fine if CMLL lost the Ingobernables match out of every Friday night show. I like Rush as a singles wrestler. I mean, I could even tolerate Rush and La Máscara as a tag team, but the trios matches are so bad, I would rather not watch an Ingobernables trios match ever again in my life. But sadly, I always watch CMLL, and I know I'm going to end up watching those matches again. So let's get to the rest of the news. Since the last time we did this podcast, since Kurt and I pretty much covered all of everything that happened the previous 2 weeks. But I mean, it sure seems like the last couple of for the last several weeks, there's always Wednesday and Thursday. There's always something new coming up, especially on Wednesdays. Wednesdays are really busy Lucha news days nowadays. But one of the big announcements was that Lucha Underground Season 3, the second half would be starting on May 31st. I think that pretty much, if you were worried about them coming back or how late it was, I think everybody can breathe a sigh of relief that they will be back. Hopefully they'll give us the Johnny Mundo Willie Mack match first, so that way at least we can not have to like continue that. I want to watch them have that match, but I also kind of think that they kind of like it keeps going on, and now they took that time off. It's kind of like that's kind of like what I would like them to open with more than anything else at this point. Some more announcements from Lucha Underground. I think if you guys listen to this, the first 50 minutes, I think we were kind of talking about what would happen with Lucha Underground. Everybody's been wondering about them being on Netflix. Court Bauer brought up that they would be on Netflix starting on February 15th. And pretty much Netflix confirmed it through their Twitter account. It's been mentioned. I saw an article on Yahoo earlier today, and I thought, maybe this is now Yahoo announcing it. But one of the things that, if you ever visit the Yahoo.com site, you'll notice that a lot of the articles and reports and blogs that they have aren't really from Yahoo. They're actually from like other places. So it came from somebody that pretty much probably got it off of Court and whatever everybody else was discussing. So, but it's official through the Netflix Canada Twitter account. So I guess that's good enough for us right now. I mean, I'm thinking it is going to happen on February 15th. The other Lucha Underground news was that they're also on Amazon Instant Video, but it's only season 2, and each episode is $1.99, which seems a lot for Lucha Underground. I don't know what the price is on iTunes, but $1.99. It's not that bad. It sounds like a lot when you're paying $1 for a CMLL show. Not that anybody wants to order that CMLL show, that CMLL Sunday show, but I think with CMLL and DTU and Lucha Memes kind of hovering between the $1 to $5 mark, it kind of seems like it's not that bad. I don't think it's that bad, but I don't think I would order season 2 for $1.99, especially I already saw it, so I'm not that worried about it. A lot of people wonder what this is. This is comparable to iTunes. Amazon actually has another service that is more comparable to what Netflix, their model is, where it's Amazon Prime, where that's really where if Amazon had it on Prime, it would have probably kept them from being on Netflix. So more or less, I think it depends, because there's some seasons where you could get both on. There's some shows, some TV series that you could get on both shows, but on both services. But usually it ends up being one or the other. Same thing with Hulu. So that's all pretty much for Lucha Underground right now. There's still a mystery of who's going to be on. There's still a mystery of when the season 4 tapings will happen, or if there will be a season 4, or who will be part of season 4. That's still a mystery right now. In more AAA news, and I think it's pretty much going to be a given that AAA news here is basically just going to be bad news. And a lot of people are going to say, "Man, you must hate AAA because you're right. You're just saying a lot of bad stuff about AAA." But you know what? It's actually not me saying bad stuff about AAA, because it's actually them saying it themselves and making themselves look bad. So I'm just reporting what's going on. It's not me making this stuff up or me having an agenda against them. It's just stuff that they do. I mean, if they did something right, and the Lucha Underground stuff, that's kind of their stuff. They do that stuff right. They might not be doing all of it themselves, but they're a part of that. But AAA on itself does a lot of stupid shit, and really, Arturo Rivera, king of saying the dumbest stuff on his social media, he popped up recently and took a lot of shots at AAA. He took a lot of shots at the Crash and Elite via talking, and the guys who left AAA. He basically also took a shot at Garza Jr. He didn't say Garza Jr.'s name, but he pretty much implied that there was one of the guys who left AAA had used a plane ticket that was paid for by AAA to travel from their hometown to Mexico City. and Garza Jr. immediately figured out that it was him that Arturo Rivera was taking a shot at. And this isn't the first time Arturo Rivera has taken a shot at Garza Jr. He did I think it was last year when Konnan left and guys were starting to actually even before Konnan left. It was when the leak rumors were coming up that they were talking to guys, and Rivera kind of implied that Garza Jr. was one of the stooges. And Garza Jr. was Garza Jr. didn't really he just basically told him he wasn't the one doing it. And first of all, he didn't know what he was talking about and it wasn't doing it. While this time, with the plane ticket, Garza Jr. showed him, not only did he show him his own plane ticket that he paid for, but he also showed him the plane ticket that AAA had paid for. And he also made a comment that not only did he not use that plane ticket, AAA still has not paid him for his last appearance there. I don't think they will. So, but I don't think Garza Jr. really cares because he's gone. And he seems happy to be on the independent scene. There's certain things that AAA is doing, or we kind of assume that they're doing to them, where there's been a lot of guys there's been some cancellations and stuff like that from AAA talent, really. And I don't know. It's a little bit of a mess right now. I don't know. I think a lot of the stuff that they're doing is it's going to it just makes them look even worse than they already do. AAA also tweeted out that here's some good news. People who think all of us that do podcasts just like to bitch and moan about AAA. Here's some good news for AAA. They actually have they're working with their sponsors, Roche Friends and Records, the online magazine, and they're basically, they didn't really say what it was, but Leo Riaño on his record article mentioned that there was a possibility that AAA would be holding tryouts for new talent. That's what I'm guessing it is. And they really need new talent to come in because they've been losing a lot. And I think there's a lot of people. I think there's enough wrestlers that are kind of, or guys new to the business that are a little naive to it, that they could actually use. And like I said, it takes a while for wrestlers to warm up, to figure out what's going on. And I think this is a good way for AAA to get new talent. So, because it sounds like it's going to be similar to the Quien Pinta por una Corona tournament that they had several years ago. That's the tournament where they discovered, I think, Daga and La Magnifica, and I think a couple of other wrestlers. La Magnifica kind of figured out and didn't stick around with AAA, so there's that. So there's some good news with AAA. But hey, if you thought we didn't, if you're a fan of us having bad news about AAA just being very vindictive and coming up with reasons to do silly things to annoy people, and you're a fan of that stuff, well, we have more this week because, our friend, the Cubs fan, found that AAA had filed trademarks on the names Penta Zero M and Phoenix El Rey. Two names that these guys never used in AAA, but AAA decided to trademark them, to file trademarks on them. They're still being processed, so neither of them have been approved yet. It's a weird thing. Just earlier today, Roberto Figueroa from Llaves y Candados and Multimedios, he actually mentioned that Penta Zero M had actually registered his name already, but he registered it as Penta Zero M without a L and without the zero, the number zero. It's actually the word, but I don't think anybody's found that. It's just confusing right now what's going on. First of all, the fact that the AAA promotion would do that, it's understandable that they own the rights to Pentagon Jr. They own the rights to Phoenix, the trademark to that. But these guys are kind of moving on. I think maybe Phoenix El Rey probably has to change his name completely just because it does have Phoenix in it, so maybe it rather than deal with this, maybe it's better for him just to change his name completely. It'd be a pain in the ass for him to do that, this is the other weird thing. both these guys use these names in Lucha Underground, so it's going to be like one of those. We don't know what's going on with Lucha Underground. You know, at this point, they're causing so many headaches. Do these two guys, are these guys that left AAA really going to want to stick with Lucha Underground? I mean, I think that's one of the things that's starting to build up where Dorian's kind of, I mean, I'm guessing there are people within Lucha Underground that probably want to keep both of these guys, but Dorian is really doing a lot to like just piss these guys off to the point where maybe they just don't want to deal with him at all. And I mean, if I was Lucha Underground, I'd be worried about that, especially with Pentagon Jr. being one of your bigger, your more popular wrestlers. And really, I mean, there's also Sexy Star and who the people in Lucha Underground apparently like, because she was pretty much the most pushed person in the promotion for season 3, the first half of season 3. So I would assume at some point there's going to have to be something where they're going to have to they're going to have to figure it out what's going on with Dorian and these guys, and whether or not this is going to be an issue going further. I mean, Konnan compared Dorian Roldan to King Joffrey on Twitter earlier today, and he said he had no redeeming qualities. I mean, this is really like it's a very, I mean, the change in view of Dorian. I mean, it's amazing, but at the same time, you know, it's pretty much expected this was going to happen. I don't know what I mean, I think it's going to get uglier before it gets better for these guys, because I think Daga and Garza Jr. probably are the two guys that aren't going to have these problems. Although I think it's going to be an issue if promoters in the US are going to want to book these guys and still want to book Drago and Aerostar. So now you have the issue where Drago and Aerostar, the promoters that are booking Penta and all these guys, they also like to book the other AAA guys. Hijo del Fantasma. Actually, Hijo del Fantasma is booked on a show, the AW show. I think Phoenix is also booked on that. So there's that issue also. Is that going to be something that's going to pop up as the year goes on? It's going to be interesting what's going to happen with these guys. And I kind of hope AAA kind of calms down. I mean, for a guy who claimed he was worried, he was too busy worried about other projects. He sure seems to be concerned about these two guys leaving and trying to trademark their names and making their lives impossible. So I think that the public face is nothing like what's being shown on from from all the information everyone's gathering from these guys. Some CMLL news. Marcela and Amapola will be debuting on ROH's April 1st show in Orlando. That show also will feature Dragon Lee and Volador Jr. Very interesting that Marcela and Amapola were the two people that were picked for Ring of Honor. But then again, you know, Ring of Honor, they brought in Misterioso Jr. and a couple of other people that, I mean, really were, I think Misterioso Jr. really the most confusing one, because I think he's a guy who's he's a guy who fits on Lucha shows, especially and the ones in the US. I perfectly understand him being on those shows, but Ring of Honor, his style doesn't really from my recollection of Ring of Honor, I wouldn't have ever thought Misterioso Jr. would have been on that show. Ring of Honor's changed a lot, obviously, where I don't know, but Marcela and Amapola, a lot better than Misterioso Jr. I don't know if they were the right fits to add for this, to bring in first for Ring of Honor. I think I would have brought in maybe Marcela and Zeuxis. I think Zeuxis would have been the better fit, but there's also so many rumors. Although the rumors have kind of died down with Zeuxis going to WWE lately, but you know, those could always pop up again. But I think she would have been a better fit for Ring of Honor's April 1st show. But you know, I don't think they're going to be bad. I think they'll be fine on that. A little older than I think I'm kind of curious to see how the reaction will be for them in Ring of Honor, especially since even Dragon Lee said that his first appearance for Ring of Honor, the crowd wasn't as familiar with him. So I would imagine they wouldn't be familiar at all with Marcela and Amapola. The other news for CMLL, Rush was on CMLL Informa on Wednesday, and they asked them about. First of all, La Mascara actually started calling Piroth his papa, his father. He said it's his father, his adopted father now. Rush. These guys were they had the first half of Informa was horrible. I mean, we had a segment where Mr. Niebla was basically talking about spit for about 10-15 minutes. But Rush was asked about whether or not he would like his brothers, Dragonlane and Mystico, to be part of Los Ingobernables. And he kind of made the comment. He made the comment that he loves them out of the ring, but in the ring, he felt that they could both, he used an expletive word to like say to describe his thoughts on his two brothers in the ring. That was very surprising. Especially, I mean, it was very a lot of cursing on this week's Informa. So I don't know what Julio Cesar Rivera was doing this week, but it wasn't a rated, it wasn't a G-rated episode, and there were some kids in the crowd. I think there were a few points during the Mr. Niebla interview where he kind of wished he hadn't invited him as a guest. The last thing I wanted to talk about was the Charo 8 show from this past Sunday, January 29th. 4 matches made their way online. 2 of them are available as a VOD package via Mas Lucha on the Mas Lucha YouTube channel. I recommend it. It's only $2.99. I recommend it just for the first match, really. The second match was good. I liked it. There's a couple of people. I know Liger Fever didn't like it, but I kind of liked. I thought it was good. I didn't have a problem with it. But the first match was really fun. Ana Gutierrez from Fuego in the Ring actually live. I don't know what they call it. I think it's just Facebook Live. She streamed the show. She streamed the Kira versus Silueta title match on Facebook through her phone, which was I think some of the action was good, but it's kind of hard to figure out if a match was good or great or what it was when you're watching it through a cell phone, and a lot of the action is happening on a further direction where you're not getting the action that what's going on. It looked what little I saw, it looked very good. Kira beat Silueta to become the CMLL Reina International Junior Champion, and I thought that was surprising, and I think that I really like that I kind of hope that means that she's going to make a couple appearances in CMLL, but I'm not holding my breath for that. I hope it happens, but I doubt it's going to happen. The other match I watched was on it's available as a handheld, another match filmed with a phone. The only difference was Anna filmed it. I think she was maybe like second or third row, so she was a little closer. So she couldn't get the wide shots, whereas the Hechicero Dr. Cerebro match, the guy was in the stands a little higher. This match was fun. I actually liked it. I don't think it was as good as the Caifán Hechicero match from January 6th from Tijuana, but this was good. Hechicero has this really cool finisher, and I just thought the ending of the match with him doing the two knee strikes, the 2 corner knee strikes, and then doing his submission hold, I thought it was a really good match. I wish they would have added that to the Lucha Memes VOD package, but I'm okay with it. Just what I saw, it was good. I could understand like if somebody watched, because the Rush Raymond Rowe match was also filmed by the same person and posted online, but I think you lose a lot of that match if you only watched it as the handheld. When you watch it on the VOD, it's closer, and there's a lot more you get more of the brawling in the crowd and what they did out of the ring compared to what I think the other person didn't catch that stuff, because it's far away. You're not gonna see the chair shots and stuff like that, and or the guy getting punched, it's not gonna have the same effect. And the guy's audio would go off a little bit, so I think you also lost that. The the Rush Ray Rowe match, I actually thought it was good. They switched it over. It was initially going to be a 3-fall match, but Rush wanted the match to be under U.S. rules. So since the U.S. they only have 1-fall matches, he wanted it 1 fall. I thought it was a pretty good brawl. It wasn't as good as LA Park or some of the other brawls that Rush has, never crosses those guys. But it was good. I also think the one thing that I think this match didn't have, since the crowd was strongly behind Rush, which was insane to watch because Rush is usually booed everywhere. This match, he was cheered, and there was a lot of there was more Ingobernables fans at this show. And Ray Rowe, I think that kind of cost. I think Rowe probably should have been a little more heelish in the match. I think he didn't do as much. I don't think he did enough of being a Rudo in the match, and I think that kind of got lost in that. And also the finish. I think when Rush pile drove Ray Rowe really raised his head quickly, and so the finisher didn't look as good as it probably should have. Because the pile driver did nothing. You could tell it didn't do it. Rowe sold, and not only did Rowe sell it that it hurt, but then Jose Manuel Guillen did a great job of saying that Rowe, it wasn't just the pile driver that wore him out, but the kick to the corner kick and all that stuff. So it was a buildup of all that stuff. I thought Jose Manuel did a great job covering up for the finish. Really, the best match on the show that I saw, hands down, was the Atomicos match. Ray Horace teaming up with the Kamikazes del Ring, Alas de Acero, Aramis, and Iron Kid. They actually ended up beating Jack Evans, who was teaming with the Charo Squad, made up of Astrolux, Baby Star, and Black Metal. I don't want to spoil it because I already got in trouble with Rob over spoiling one of the spots on Twitter, so I don't want to do that on this podcast. I recommend everybody download it and watch it. I mean, it's only $2.99. It's not gonna. If you have the money, it's worth it. Really fun match. If you like dives and stuff and a lot of crazy moves, this is something you should order. If you don't like that stuff, obviously you shouldn't order it. But I thought it was great. Astrolux is tiny. He made Jack Evans look like a giant. But Astrolux, Stuquita should not be a mini. Really, if Astrolux is working with these regular size guys, Stuquita should not be a mini. And really, I think this match should be like the match that CMLL should have sent one of their programming department guys to watch. And that programming department guy would have said, you know what? Why do we have a minis division? Let's just have Mercurio, Astral, Virus, Pirotito, Stuquita, Electrico, a couple of the other short guys, maybe bring in some of the freelance guys like that. And let's just make a flyweight division or some smaller weight division, the super flyweight division, whatever the super lightweight division, the title that Dragon Lee has. These guys perfectly fit. They all fit in together, and get rid of all the crappy minis. Why keep Pequeño Universo, Pequeño Nitro, and Pequeño Violencia and all these guys? Shockercito's good. I mean, why keep all those other those minis when you can have a pretty cool short Mexican division? These guys were fun. There were points where Jack Evans, the dives in this match were amazing. Astrolux had some big balls. At one point, I think it was Iron Kid did a dive onto him, and Astrolux is I don't think he's even 5'3". I would be shocked if he's no taller than 5'1", really. And he actually, normally, you know how you see Piroth when a guy's going to do a dive or a tope, and Piroth goes to the side and doesn't even catch the guy? Astrolux is so short, the guy overshot him, and he still tried to catch the guy. He moved further away and still tried to catch the guy. I thought that was cool. A lot of great dives, like I said. I definitely recommend you watch this. I thought this was probably the second best match I saw from January. I would say Hechicero versus Kaifan was my favorite match that I watched in January. This would probably be my second favorite. I'm sure there's a couple of other matches I haven't seen from January that might actually join in, but I think this might actually be definitely top Mephisto versus Volador. it tops. I don't think anything I watched from in FantasticaMania match this match. Really, I thought Astrolux looked great. The Kamikazes looked really good. These guys, I mean, as a unit, were really great. They actually put over the Charo squad at the end. I was really impressed with Baby Star Jr. I want a Baby Star Jr. versus Luigi singles match. Someone please book this match. DTU, Lucha Memes, anyone, book, or an independent, book Luigi versus Baby Star Jr. I will actually pay to watch that. 99 cents, you know. CMLL didn't get that dollar. I still have that dollar available through my PayPal account. Baby Star Jr. versus Luigi. Please do it. Anyone. What else? Yeah, you know, I thought that was it had a really cool finish also, I should mention. Like I said, I don't want to spoil it for you guys. Lots of dive. If you love a match with tons of dives and just a crazy match overall, I recommend this match. I wish CML and AAA would have something like this at least on their weekly shows. I mean, really, they have so many shows. You would think they would have like something pop up that was at this level. I know Rob Viper was saying that he wished the Kamikazes could work CML openers, but I think we both realized that would be like, it would be dreadful just because CML, it would be sad for us just because, you know, CML would force these guys not to do any dives, and they book them against, you know, Graco, Coyote, Inquisidor. Who else is out? If they move up to the second, they'd end up wrestling Scandalo, Cancerbero, and you know, Okumura or Nitro. So it's like Okumura, I think, isn't that bad. You know, Okumura isn't the worst when you have all these other guys in there. But yeah, you know, I thought that was a good match. Highly recommend. You know, for the bad news for those of you who are Wolfie fans that were hoping for the music video, they did not add that. So next time I talk, if we have Daniel Ledesma on the next episode of Lucha Talk, I will bring this up to him and tell him I'm very disappointed. You know, Dylan and I were looking forward to watching that Wolfie music video and actually giving it a review on the next Lucha Talk. So that wasn't on there. I'm sure most of you guys are going to miss that. So yeah, you know, watch those matches. There's a lot more going on. Hopefully there's going to be some more news coming up for the next podcast. Next podcast we'll have the Lucha Classica podcast. We talked about La Momia, Jimmy El Pulpo, and more on WCW Luchadors. A lot on Eddie Guerrero and how great he was. A lot on Rey Mysterio Jr. and how awesome he was in 1996. I think Rey Mysterio Jr. and Eddie Guerrero, I mean, you know, it's funny because we all talk about, when I hear so many of the fans nowadays are talking about how great it is to see these guys, Lucha Underground, or one of the CML guys makes it to WWE, and we all get excited. And, you know, you look back at that era of WCW and you're like, they basically had like, maybe like, if you exclude the All Japan guys of that era, like Misawa, Kawada, Akiyama, and Kobashi, I mean, they probably had like the 10 best workers of that era, you know, with Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio probably being two of the top 5 of that year in 1996. So we talk about that. It's a fun show. We're probably going to do a Villano III Atlantis special as well. I think Cubs fan may have been joking about doing a Blue Demon TV series special podcast. I'm still not sure if he's serious. If he wasn't serious, I promise we'll do that on this. We'll do a special on Lucha World covering the Blue Demon TV series. It's actually, I think basically, for those of you who haven't watched it, I think the Blue Demon TV series is basically, they're trying to like cover every single, like, everything that has ever happened in wrestling. I think they want to have it within the 20 episodes. And then they're trying to add all this other stuff that happens outside of it. I think it's to the point where we're basically, I would guess this is basically nothing that happened in Blue Demon or Black Shadow or El Santos lives happened on this. It's more of like the one of their movies than anything else. But there are some fun moments in the show, so we'll definitely do that. Yeah, so like I said, Lucha Classica, thanks again for listening to this show.